Dave, get your ass out the shop, man. Sit up. Have some respect. I'm triggered, guys. I am legitimately triggered. I've calmed down. I think I'm going to get angry during this video. And there's no one I would rather get angry with than my boy Dave here. This is about the SJW, something that you are surprisingly clued up on.
Yes, I've been following this for a long time.
He has.
They're not my favourite people, I'm not going to lie.
You watch all the YouTubers bearing.
Yeah, got a lot of bearing.
Sargon of Akkad.
And some Undoomed.
Naked 8. Basically, Dave here, he's probably the biggest gamer I know. He's also one of my best friends. And you have the same concerns that I have, that feminism, SJWs, everything to do with Gamergate, it is pretty legit. It is suppressing gaming creativity.
Just spoiling fun as they always seem to try and do.
And I did this video, guys. You saw me. I did the feminism video. Now, for anyone who wondering why I'm doing this video, Final Fantasy 15 was ruined, legitimately ruined. I still love the game. I'm not ranting on the game.
Never played it.
He hasn't played it yet, but basically the rumour comes off of, just to fill everyone in, Final Fantasy 15 had a character called Lunafreya.
Yep.
She was supposed to have a really dark, gritty story. We saw trailers with cutscenes of abuse. She was even being abused from a young age. She was getting abused at an older age.
Yeah.
And there was a rumour that came out, and this rumour is legit. That rumour I covered on my previous video. Someone who worked there for 14 months said that the reason Lunafreya's cutscenes were pretty much split out was because there was so much backlash on how women were being treated in video games.
Such a shame.
That they decided not to put in any of the controversial scenes.
It's a shame, because it sounded like an interesting story.
It really did, and it was the dark grittiness that really attracted me towards the game versus 13. I'm so fucking mad.
Sounds like a disjustice to a lot of their sort of player base, because I take it Final Fantasy is played by more older people at this point, isn't it?
At this point, I would say yes. I think the fan base has aged. I mean, really, we haven't had Final Fantasy before Final Fantasy 15 for 6 years. So we're all getting on a bit. We're all in our 30s, and the thing with Final Fantasy, the reason why this is the biggest disservice, it has never bowed down to social pressures. Ever. Yeah. Final Fantasy has always been the one that will tackle the dark, gritty issues.
Always set out to tell a story.
It didn't give a fuck what the fan base thought. And I mean, you just even know, you've played enough Final Fantasy to know how much they change between the games.
Yes.
And with every change, there's been complaints. People have always wanted every Final Fantasy to be a replica of the previous Final Fantasy they enjoyed. But they didn't give a shit. They did what they wanted to do. But this is the first real example where I've seen Square Enix bow down to social pressure. And I'm disappointed, guys. I'm really sad about this. Because not only did Final Fantasy 15 realistically get ruined, FF7 Remake is in real danger.
Yeah, they're probably in danger of them taking out a lot of the scenes from the game that might be viewed as controversial and remove them from the game, which will then be a disservice, because now you're taking parts out which made the original great. And to do what?
Well, and that's the thing. There are a lot of them, guys. There are. Final Fantasy 7, it has pretty much implied rape. You've seen when you go to the prostitute house. Well, I mean, which is what it is. I know the honeybee inn, they're dressed in honey outfits, but at the end of the day, it's a prostitution establishment. And we've seen with GTA how much any game with a strip club, any game with prostitution will instantly get hit out in a massive way. Any female character with big tits, let's just say it straight up, right, instantly going to get shouted at. And who do we know in FF7 has quite well endowed features?
Well, I mean, you saw what they did with Overwatch. I mean, you saw how progressive Overwatch is in its character designs, and they still sound something to nitpick and moan at. You just can't win with them. Yeah, I mean, with Overwatch, for anyone who hasn't played that, they've got characters like Zarya, who is a butch. I'm not gonna say a lesbian, but she's a butch. She's implied to be heavy set woman. Yeah, she's implied to be kind of but yet, despite them having that in there, they still complain about Diva. They still complain about Tracer. They complain about Tracer and the model that showed off her ass too well.
And this is the thing with every single fucking game, there's these same complaints. And if Square Enix on this occasion cut out everything to do with Lunafreya because it was too controversial, Tifa Lockhart, do you think she's going to have double Ds in the FF7 remake?
Everybody's going to miss them. Those Those prickly boobs.
I mean, I was looking forward to seeing them remade. I was looking forward to see Tifa not with coney boobs ones. I'm really scared that this might not happen now. And I mean, even if we just go to Tomb Raider.
Oh yeah, they got in and they all got arsey over the implied sort of rape scene in the first one, and then but it was directed by a female, wasn't it? The game director was a woman. I believe for Tomb Raider.
Really, was it? I didn't even know that.
I'm sure it was because she came out and defended her points. I can't remember exactly. Someone in the comments should say exactly what happened.
But I mean, at the end of the day, so of the 90s era, two of possibly the video game sexist females were Tifa Lockhart and Lara Croft. I think they hit nearly everyone's top five at some point. If they turned Lara Croft into the girl next door, which I'll put a picture of here, because that is the girl next door. What chance does Tifa Lockhart have of being sexualised?
The issue I find in it, these controversies are all fine and dandy. Yes, people have an opinion and they might not something else portray, because they always have these views that, I don't know, if you portray women in this light, boys are going to get this into their head and it's going to increase society's natural intrinsic hate towards women and things like that. But all these people that play these that moan about these aspects of the games, they don't play games. It doesn't affect them. They just look for something to
that is definitely the most annoying part. With people like Anita Sarkeesian, I mean, they don't even play the fucking games. The people who are making these complaints, this will get me those. They don't actually play them. They admit they don't play them. I've seen videos, I've seen articles that have complained about Final Fantasy, the way the women are portrayed. There's not enough main female protagonists. How we had Final Fantasy 15 and there were 4 male characters. I mean, how can you say there aren't enough female protagonists in Final Fantasy? I mean, it's ridiculous.
Didn't they complain when it was all female and then complain when it was all male as well?
Yeah, I mean, exactly. With Final Fantasy X-2, they were all female, and that was sexist. It was a game with all female characters. And then we have Final Fantasy 15, and because there's no women characters as the main, it's sexist again.
You can't win.
There's no fucking. I mean, it's sexist either way, and.
Well, you saw that Anita Sarkeesian. Everything's homophobic, everything's sexist, and you got to point it all out. Yeah. How about we just start pointing out the bullshit?
Well, this is the thing. It's sexist if they do. It's sexist if they don't. And the main thing with Lunafreya is, why is it that a woman being mistreated in a game is the biggest crime possible? And all of the SJWs, they came out of the woodwork. Supposedly there was real backlash at Kingsglaive on how Lunafreya was treated in that. I mean, I've seen the damn movie. Where was she mistreated? But this is the thing. Lunafreya gets mistreated because she gets a bit of a beating. Where were they when Zack Fair was more or less tortured in Crisis Core? Where was they when all of the other male characters we've had in Final Fantasy, they're often the most disposable. Where are they there? Just silence. Just pure silence.
Yeah, because it's a double standard, isn't it?
It is a double standard. Major double standard. And
I mean, think back to every video game, 99% of them, all things bad happen in video games happen to blokes, but blokes don't give a shit, because we don't give a shit.
Yeah, that's it. When you look at humanoids, which is obviously a typical, you get humanoids in Final Fantasy, 90%, probably 95% are all male gendered.
Yeah.
If you look at any of the soldiers in Final Fantasy, when you look at any Final Fantasy VII, when you look at any of the PsyCom, pretty much all the military units are men, and they're killed frequently.
Yeah.
Yet there's no complaints about male disposability.
Nope.
I mean, even if we go to the villains, why is that pretty much all of the absolute craziest, loose cannon, wild, aggressive megalomaniacs? They're men. Isn't that a bad portrayal on?
Well, the thing is, when you always get back to the same thing, you start removing people's motives and what drives them. What made the villain and things like that. You start stripping away the character that makes them relatable. Also, not everything's going to be relatable like a really bad past, but you can understand the villain more. It gives them gravity. It makes what they're doing seem like something that somebody would naturally do. And then, the old saying that goes back, your story is only as good as your villain, then really starts ringing true. You start stripping back the character's complexities and you end up with this lifeless blank character that is our motives are unknown, and you don't really know a lot about the character, and you just weaken the story as a result.
Exactly, and
ruins artistic integrity.
And that is pretty much what has happened with Lunafreya. As much as it hurts me to say this, because I was really excited for this character, I was really excited for her movie, after her movie, to see more of her. They stripped so much away from her because she was a dark character. She was a character who her body was slowly declining. She was going to get iller and iller. Supposedly, according to this rumour, we was going to see her get worse and worse. They stripped so much away that Lunafreya pretty much now doesn't have any development in the story. Let's be real, guys, she doesn't. They stripped her away so much that realistically, when they stripped away everything that led up to, spoiler alert, this is a spoiler alert video, I'll put in the title, she died, but we'd seen nothing leading up to that death.
You had no reason to care for her then.
We had no reason to care. Let's be real. Even I've watched Kingsglaive, I've watched Brotherhood, and still when Lunafreya died, I could kind of care. If I was like you just playing the game, people wouldn't give a shit. People would not give a crap because we didn't see any of her struggles. We didn't see any of her hardships. We had one scene where it was, oh, I'm getting ill, but then we never saw it. So why do we care about the illness? Do you know what I'm saying?
I think if Square Enix did this, they should have removed the character in its entirety.
Well, this is the thing. They pretty much said more or less just that, is that there were characters who they put in there for purposes of, in Versus 13. There was going to be a character, Caligo. Caligo's main story arc was that he was going to abuse young Luna. When that all got cut, there was now no point of him. But because we'd seen the character, they said that they still felt like they had to put him in there.
I think the issue that
it was the same with Ravus. Sorry to cut you. It was the same with Ravus. They pretty much said that they didn't actually want Ravus to be in the thing, but because they'd shown us so much of Ravus, they felt like, oh, we still need to keep him in the game, even though there's really no point of him anymore.
You should put a tear moment in then.
Yeah.
Darkness, my old friend, I'm here to talk to you again.
Oh, I am in the darkness. But let's go on to Gamergate. Gamergate, what is it?
Gamergate was that controversy around the feminism, about Zoe, I think, and the whole increase in censorship and involvement they've had in the gaming and how much of an effect they've had, and how they and the game journalism, and how they said that feminism was in bed with the journalists. And
so really Gamergate was something to counteract that. It was something that was trying to push back about this general trend that feminism.
It was seen as right wing backlash to the progressive left's involvement with feminism and stuff.
So it was a way to try to counter. It was a way to try to fight back, to stop these motherfuckers. Because that's what they are. They're motherfuckers. I'm sorry, but if you come and you complain and you nitpick about something that you don't even yourself do, you don't even play, you're just looking in at gamers and saying, I don't like that. I don't like the way you're treating females. I don't even play them, but I still don't like it. So I'm just gonna look in from fucking my little echo chamber. I'm going to look in and I'm just going to complain. I'm just going to try to ruin it for you.
But naturally, with anything that comes out on the internet, it gets mixed waters. People that just want to stir up shit, send death threats, spread, just generally be arses joined in, and they all got a bad name. I believe that's how it turned out in the end.
But do you think Gamergate went the right way about it?
Well, I think what a lot of people seem to see, it was the first time that this sort of left progressive had people push back against it. Yeah. And often, like when you see with the whole GTA and how it got removed from Australian Walmart's stock shelves, I think it was, because of one person complaining about it and say, oh, in this game you can kill a prostitute and take her money, and this is grounds for the game to be removed. Even though
for going and killing a prostitute,
even though you can do whatever the fuck,
even though that's real life. I mean, that is real life.
You could do that if you wanted to.
Yeah. News alert: there are strip clubs, there are titty bars. And the thing is, I think even with a lot of those videos, I saw it with the Anita Sarkeesian ones. They were showing all these female strippers. Look how many female strippers there are, and you can kill them. But then completely ignoring the fact that there were also male strippers, and you could kill them.
Can you imagine if Duke Nukem got released today with the opening scene of him spreading the money to get the flash from the prostitute?
Oh shit!
But the thing is, there's just so they had it removed, even though the game has a rating of 18+. You don't have to play it. You don't even have to buy it. These things aren't written on the front of them. You know what you're going in for. Obviously, that's why the game's graded the way it is. It had an 18 for 18. It's for adults only. If you're a mother and you buy it for your 11-year-old kid, that's not the game's fault. It's your fault. That's your bad parenting.
Yeah. And I mean, I suppose that's the other argument that some people in the comment section are going to make, that the reason why they removed the really controversial scenes with Luna wasn't because Square Enix gave a shit about the backlash and the controversy, because they wanted to keep their age rating low.
Maybe. What age rating did it get in?
I can't remember. I mean, let me just quickly double check. Let me see if I can... It just says teen.
That's the ESRB rating, isn't it?
Yeah, the
That's
ESRB rating.
American one, is it?
Yeah, the American one. So yeah, I mean, that is a possibility.
12 then, I guess.
Yeah, probably 12. Now, if they'd have had those really dark scenes with Luna, would it have been higher? Possibly. But I am going to go ahead and say yes, the reason why they cut Lunafreya was because they didn't want the controversy. There had been so much around Sydney being hypersexualized. There'd been so much around how the females are being portrayed. And this is the thing with going back to Gamergate quickly, is when people try to hit back, there is a side of me that thinks there's no fucking point.
No.
If anything, Gamergate is the reason why developers won't do it. Because when Gamergate comes along, or people who support it, and they try to hit back at feminism and the SJWs and the left, and they try to hit back at the left. They go about it the wrong way. There have been death threats. Some people take it way too far.
Death threats, pizzas and doxings.
Yeah, and the thing is, the left will then hit back as well with their...
Oh, look, this is exactly what I mean. Look at all these psychopathic, sexist video gamers. There's always, these death threats, they always bark, there's never bite.
That's it. And the thing is, so there's all this argument going on online, and then none of this means shit, because then you've just got the developer here who's just looking at all this controversy, all this thing, and they just go,
"Oh, yeah, God, it's just not worth my time."
Yeah, just not worth it. Let's just dodge that bullet in its entirety.
I can understand.
And they take the safe route.
Yeah, I can understand. It makes a lot of sense, especially Square Enix and how they got burned with their controversy surrounding the Hitman games and the nuns and the guns and the...
Well, that's it. Square Enix specifically have been getting hit a lot by this.
Yeah.
So yeah, it has put them on the defensive, and there is no other word for it than, don't you agree? It has suppressed developer creativity.
It's suppressing artistic integrity, but
that's not just suppressed. It's killed it. It's killed it at this point. I mean, when we can't have anything gritty, anything controversial, which all the other Final Fantasies kind of was, and many of the Hitman and the things that draw people towards those games. I'm not going to be interested in games that are just playing it safe. That's what brought me to Final Fantasy. That's why I liked it. I'm not going to play games that play it safe. And I'm sorry, but this will categorically be the thing that kills it for me personally.
If you want to play something that's not safe, you should play the game in the forest. You find female cannibals, you can kill them and then cut their limbs off and then eat their limbs if you so choose.
That wasn't the kind of playing. I was thinking on a creative narrative, structured narrative. Cannibals cutting their limbs off, eating them. Come up to the mic a bit more.
Naturally, whenever you bring up a point, unless you're going to bring up a way to get around it, then all you're doing in the end is just adding to the people moaning it about the subject. Unless you can try and add something, or you can say, well, this is what we should do, this is the way we should go about it.
What should we do?
Spinning your wheels and you're just adding to the voice that is moaning.
Yeah, that's it. What can you do other than, just engage in pointless internet arguments, which kind of just inflames the situation
because
more.
What do? Do you boycott the game? But then you just hurt the game that you want to play and you wanted to see succeed.
I really don't know how to stop it. I mean, the one thing I have said, and I've said this on Twitter, and this is why I want... Go over, add me on Twitter, is I was asking for all of the fans' feedback on how they feel about this, how they feel about how FF15 went. And because I've got a channel... In case you don't know, I've got a channel.
Oh, yeah.
I've got a channel. Hopefully with that, I can now... I'm going to get it translated. There's other people can say they're translated to Japanese. I want to send a letter to Square Enix. And it's not going to be a moan video. I want to tell them what they got right. Praise them through the arse off what they got right.
Praise where praise should be.
Praise where praise is due. But then say what the concerns were.
I play the Final Fantasy because I like a good story. And sometimes a good story has to go to places where people don't want to go. You know, you don't get emotionally, you don't get emotionally involved with something if it just plays it safe. I mean, all the Final Fantasy games have had a history of changing it up every new game. Why do we want to kill this with all this bullshit? Yeah. Everybody complains about how Call of Duty is literally a cookie cutter, produces a new game. Oh, let's add sci-fi elements to it. And then everyone points it out and says for it's bullshit, this is the same. I mean, look at Battlefield 1. They've changed it up. They went into something else and it's doing well, and that's what I want to see. I want to see all this backlash that forces companies to say, we can't put all this money into a game because people are going to backlash and we're going to lose money and it's going to hurt the company. So you end up sometimes you end up siding with the developers because you can see their catch-22. I mean, what did they do? They're in an impossible situation.
The thing that really hooked people on Versus 13, 10 years ago, because this was Versus 13, then it transitioned for 15. I mean, you know this game's been in development for 10 years, so it's got a long old history. The thing that Versus 13, the reason why people love that so much is it was dark. It was so dark. It was so gritty.
I like myself a good dark and gritty game. I mean, my favourite game.
The Final Fantasy fans were eating that up. They were hyped for that. And when we saw all the trailers, and no, they were dark as hell.
It's not like dark and gritty doesn't sell. I mean, look at the Souls games. You know, they sell fantastic, and they're all dark and gritty. There's no happiness anywhere. It's all dark and grit, and people love it. People eat it up.
That's exactly it. There's no happy ending, and we know for Final Fantasy 15 there was no happy ending. So it had the dark at the end, but it pretty much trimmed away all of the dark leading up to the dark end.
Yeah, I like a dark game, and I like a dark, gritty ending. You know, reality is reality. You know, it's all sunshine and roses. I think one of my favourite examples of that is always Shadow of the Colossus.
Yeah.
How
brilliant game.
You had this person trying to say he had a good intention to resurrect his dead girlfriend or whatever.
At the expense of everything.
At the expense of these harmless seeming colossus, and they felt huge, and you know he kept absorbing all this black evil energy, and at the end, you know, you realise he was killing something that was, you know, wasn't evil, and you realise this at the end. I mean, it has a semi-happy ending where his girlfriend's alive and he's been turned into a baby, isn't it?
Yeah.
But then, you know...
That's going to sound so weird for anyone who hasn't played Shadow. Yeah, he turns into a baby.
Japanese stuff, you know.
Yeah, and I mean, this is the thing. That's also what I like. Type 0 is my favourite Final Fantasy. And this was Tabata. Tabata with Crisis Core, really dark. Type 0, really dark.
Isn't that sacrilege to FF7?
What? Yeah, I mean, yeah. I'll say that.
Burn him!
Yeah,
Burn him!
I can never decide. Ask me any day of the week. One day it'll be Type 0, the next will be FF7. But there is no way Tabata would have wanted to cut all of this darkness. Tabata is the Lord of Darkness.
Everybody knows the best is FF6.
FF6 is good. I won't lie. If someone comes out and says FF6 is good...
Kefka, best villain laugh ever.
But Arden was a dope villain. Really good, but...
Kefka wasn't. He was shit. He was literally just evil because... some people think that's good, that Kefka was. Some people say Kefka was just evil for the sake of it, and that makes him a good villain. That's a terrible villain. A villain needs... you need to be able to relate to a villain. If they're just evil because they just want to be evil, it's unrealistic. That doesn't happen. Bad people
but that's the thing. When people argue... I don't know how we got into this, but when people argue who is the darkest villain...
Stop sidetracking.
What they say... Well, I'll finish this point. When they say who is the darkest villain, some people see that as who is the most evil. And you've got to say it, Kefka is, because he's just evil for the sake of evil. He just wanted to poison people. So yeah, he's just straight up fucking evil.
If someone has sociopath.
Yeah, if someone has relatable reasons like Caius Ballard, kind of Sephiroth, kind of Arden, then they're not just evil for the sake of being even evil. So there's still good in them.
You can see how they ended up in the position that they ended.
But you personally like the relatable villain.
Yeah, like
so do
getting off sidetrack again. One of my favourite villains ever is gonna have to be Itachi from Naruto, who had all of his motives and all the reasons. I know it turns out he's a good guy and all that bollocks, but I really liked his story. He was a really relatable character. He was in a really bad, difficult position, and you see what he did in the end, and you see why he did it, and it made him such a strong character, and there's a reason why he's the fan favourite.
Yeah.
But again, Naruto, I think, just does villains the best. I mean...
Well, and this is the thing. When we look at the FF7 remake, and how Sephiroth is going to be portrayed... at the end of the day, if they've cut all of this darkness for Luna, because it was too controversial. There was being too abusive towards
I take it the hole in the story is noticeable.
Oh yeah. Oh, without a doubt. You play Final Fantasy 15 and you can literally see where they've made the cuts. You can literally see, because we've seen the trailers as well. We know what they've cut, and there is a ray of hope. We know that they're going to be adding cutscenes later on in the DLC. This is the thing with gaming these days. It's more becoming a service. Which I think the gaming community...
That's another discussion.
That's for another time. The gaming community hasn't picked up with that yet. They still don't get that games are becoming service now. The days where we just got our disc and had everything on it and we plugged it in, those days are gone.
There's still some softwares. I mean, there's software developers.
Not on the AAA titles. On the AAA stages, they all come packed with their DLCs.
From Software, the old Dark Souls developers, they do come with DLC, but they're good DLC and they're proper DLC.
Yeah, but it's still
I like
all
myself...
all AAA's these days, they're a service still.
Well, no, I think more of today is not that they're a service. It's you're a bag of money, and I want to squeeze you for every last fucking penny that you have inside of you. Because my name is EA.
That's the pessimistic way of looking at it.
It's not pessimistic. It's reality. You can see developers that do this. You know, ask anyone who's your least favourite developer, and I'm sure most of them will say EA. You have to look no farther than fucking Dungeon Keeper on the mobile. If you wanted to just break one block, it took you 45 minutes, unless you give us some money and we'll give you some more gems and you can do it speedy.
That does happen, and I agree.
Time.
But if we take, for example, 15 in this instance, you had your money's worth. If you've got a game where you've had your money's worth,
fine.
In content, because we did, the story wasn't enough. But the fact that they're now going to be coming in, because Final Fantasy 15 sold 5 million in 24 hours, they've got the sales, they've got the good reviews. The fact they're now coming in and they're going to be bringing back the voice actors so they can bring in those cutscenes, stuff like Ravers. So hopefully they'll bring some of this dark grittiness back. If they're doing that, and a lot of those are going to be for free.
If it turns out that the whole cut was to then sell it back to you and they pull all the Capcom, that would be very disappointing.
That's the thing. The cutscene parts are going to be free. So they're coming back and adding in new cutscenes. Really for no reason. They don't have to do it. The game is selling well. So the fact they're going to go spend resources to improve the story even more, at no cost.
A free update is always welcome, isn't it?
A free update is always welcome. The simple fact is, 3 years was not enough to get this game out. 3 years for Final Fantasy 15 was not enough. Pure and simple. So the fact is, Tabata had to do what he had to do. He had so much story, he decided to make a movie of some of it, an anime series of some of it, and then he did what he could in the 3 years. And then they've said, after that, we're going to have to do the rest of the story as a service. They started working on those cutscenes. They started working on areas. They started working on Dark World, Lestalum. We know that was complete. They started work on the Shiva statue region. The fact they couldn't get that out in time, and that they have said they want to add all of that on. The fact it's done 5 million in 24 hours. However much Matsuda is a real big point as to why this game is the way it is. It was originally a game that had so much content it was going to be a trilogy.
They've definitely secured the next in the series with 5 billion sales, haven't they?
Oh yeah, that's it. And the thing is, they then had to condense it. Tabata had 3 games worth of story to condense. He did what he could, but now it's sold 5 million 24 hours. Oh, for sure, Matsuda is going to turn to Tabata and say, up it. Up it. They want more. Because that's where we are hungry. We are hungry for more story. We didn't get enough of it. And with so many hungry fans, thirsty fans, there's no chance that Matsuda isn't going to give Tabata even more to work with. I genuinely believe, I was speaking to XX Dibs, who is really knowledgeable on this. I think we spoke till 4 a.m. He said he honestly sees DLC stuff and bits of the story of 15. It's not going to be a 15-2. People are asking, is it going to be a 15-2 to sort of fill in the blanks of the story? That we're going to be getting DLC for the next 2 years of the story. How do you feel about that?
2 years of DLC. I mean,
it's kind of drawn out, isn't it?
The issue is the quality of the DLC. Good DLC is always welcome. Like, I always go back to my favourite bit of DLC, which I always think is like the way to DLC. Oblivion. They had the expansion, the Shivering Isles, which opened a new huge island, a huge story, tons of side quests, tons of characters, new races. The Shivering Isles expansion was fantastic. I mean, you know, that game is home to one of the most embarrassing DLCs.
And did that have story elements to it?
You had a whole story with a new god. You know, a really good.
So in that instance, with that DLC, which you had to pay for, I'm guessing.
Yeah, I think it was probably about 20 quid in the day when it got released.
And that's roughly what a lot of the DLC patches we're going to be getting with some of the character stories that's going to expand them. When does the line between, oh, they cut that out of the game to sell it back to us, when does it stop becoming that and this is genuinely a good quality DLC that's going to make this game better and expand it?
Whenever someone asks the question about when DLC becomes bad, you need to look no further than Dragon Age Origins, the new one from EA. You got to the end of the game and it felt like the story hadn't ended. It just cuts to black. There was more to it. Yeah. They released a new villain and you could just fucking see what EA's done.
Yeah, you can feel it. It's in a feeling.
They've left a cliffhanger
100%.
Because they want more of your money.
And the thing with 15 is I can feel it wasn't that. There was nothing they held back. No, we purposely cut this out so we can sell it back to you later. Time restraints literally crept up on their arse and caused a lot of that. Could we get Dark World as a full-on expansion now? Despite the DLCs not being Dark World, the fact it's sold this well, could we now get that entire Dark World expansion now that so many people are asking for it? I really think that's likely. I think it's possible. But despite all that, talk about DLC.
Fuck DLC!
Yeah. No, I like DLC. I like it. DLC. But tying it back in, how we got to DLCs, I don't know. With the DLCs, despite I think there's going to be loads for 15, I really don't think that the controversial stuff they took out with Luna, I don't think there's any hope they're going to put it back in. I think if they took it out because of social pressures, I really don't think they're now going to bring it all back in.
I think it would be bad for business.
Yeah, they've dodged the bullet. I think it's cowardice, which is really painful for me to say.
I think if they was to put it back in, it would make players feel...
It would be too obvious.
I think it'd make people feel a bit cheap, that they've taken a bit of advantage of you.
Yeah.
They teased all this cool gritty storyline. Now they're going to sell it back to you. I don't think
that is how it would come across.
I don't think that's not really Square Enix, is it?
Yeah. The thing is,
I mean, they have done some shady stuff.
Oh, without a doubt. I mean, they all do. And the fact is, with Matsuda, I was looking into some of those rumours. As there was the whole part about how they couldn't change the characters' outfits because there was contractual issues. I couldn't understand that, so I wanted to research that. I found out that it was Rowan. I'll put up a picture. Rowan, they actually pretty much signed Square Enix to having to use those outfits because it was a line of clothing that they wanted to
funding,
a design of theirs they wanted to promote. So yeah, there's loads of contractual issues. I also know that Matsuda, he looked at Final Fantasy 13, which is the Marmite of the franchise. There was a lot of love, a lot of hate. Matsuda looked at the 13 trilogy.
Not gonna lie, I looked at 13. Didn't like the look of it because it looked like...
I love the game.
It looked like it played itself though.
Yeah, I mean, it's mostly the linearity of the issue. Matsuda looked at that, he saw how controversial it was among fans, he said, Versus 13, don't want anything to be like that. So that's why they stopped it being a trilogy. That's why it was going to be as dark as it was. That's why it went open world. So there is a lot of shouts from the top that really do affect... even that's the thing, don't put this on Tabata. He would want to do his thing. I think even Nomura said he was going to make it a musical.
I think the musical scene in Final Fantasy VI was enough.
Yeah, I think I like that. I like the opposite, but a full-on musical, I think that was a good bullet to dodge. But yeah, Matsuda makes loads of calls. I'm so fucking triggered. I wanted Lunafreya scenes. I wanted grittiness, Dave. Is it so much to ask?
I just want some grit.
You crazy.
I think if you look
massive
at society,
four-headed twat.
I think. Shut up. You look like a potato with a face drawn on it.
Really? You look. What are those glasses about? I know you have 20/20 vision.
It's a facade.
He just wanted to look clever as fuck coming on this video.
People say they make me look intellectual.
I hope your heart palpitations kill you.
Stop.
Yeah, I might have to cut that out. That might have been too dark, too gritty. I might have to cut that out.
You might get backlash.
I might get backlash from the fans. Best cut that out. Perhaps if the fans say, I really like that part where it was dark and gritty between you two, I might then just send it back to them as a DLC. I'm making a joke of it, but I'm at a stage where I'm really...
Well, digressing, I think if you look at people as a whole now, people are starting to cotton on to this bullshit. People are starting to say they don't like it. I mean, look at Brexit, look at Trump getting president.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
You can see that people have smelt their mouldy cheese and said, you know what? This
Fuck
is bullshit.
Fuck you.
And we don't want
it's the thing is, like you said, the majority are against this leftist. People are hitting back over the majority, and it's amazing, is it? It is a vocal minority.
Yeah.
With the people who are about 15, it was a vocal minority, and it's incredible how much influence and sway they get. I mean, you can have a majority of Final Fantasy 15 fans or Final Fantasy fans saying we want this. The developer will either do it or not. A vocal minority comes out and they kick and scream and shout.
They're not even going to fucking play the game.
They're not even going to play the game, yet somehow they get their influence through.
It's the strong arm.
How is that a thing?
They strong arm.
They strong arm, yeah.
You don't agree with us. You must be a sexist, bigot, piece of shit.
Yeah, basically it's the kind of press that a developer doesn't want on their game. It's the kind of shit they don't want.
But there's some, these controversies always dissipate.
But I mean, the interesting thing with 15, I want your insight on this. So there is Cindy, and she is hypersexualized. I mean, her delicious, juicy titty mangoes on full show. Why didn't they buckle to she's sexist? So why didn't they dress her up? But why did they buckle to the Lunafreya points? Why keep the sexist part in? Or what they call the sexist part in. The hypersexualization.
The actual part that could be considered bad. Should be toned back a bit.
Yeah, they kept that in, but the Lunafreya stuff, well, no, that's got to go.
Something that generally was interesting, and, depending on how they handled it, could have been a really good story. It could have been, it could have catapulted the story into, like, Bioshock levels of story,
I really think it would have. I think that is what it would have been. I think if they'd have kept those in there and they'd added that layer of holy crap, even more than the game already was, and we'd have had those extra, because this game straight up needed an extra 5 to 10 hours of cutscenes and cinematics. If it had had that, this game would have been a masterpiece.
I just play games for the combat.
Yeah. Not much of an RPG junkie, but for Final Fantasy fans, they're all coming away saying the gameplay was a masterpiece, the world was a masterpiece, everything hit the points, but the story fell short.
Weak.
Yeah, it fell weak. It did. It was weak at the end of the day because it didn't have the support behind it.
And that's a shame, because that's normally always what the main selling point of a Final Fantasy game, post 6.
And that's it, guys. Rounding this out, that's how we fix this. We somehow need... Hopefully Square Enix can watch this. They've commented on my channel before. I had comments from Square Enix 3 times on my channel.
Oh really? What did they say?
How crazy is that? One of them was I called out Matt Kishimoto, and then I said, actually, I really like you, Matt Kishimoto, you're cool. And then Matt Kishimoto wrote on my channel saying, you made his day, something. It is a dope. I'll show you the comments later. But so if there's any way they can get this, Square, the message is the reason why Final Fantasy 15 did not hit that masterpiece status was because you dodged the bullets. There weren't enough cutscenes, and if you want going forward to really nail it, you need to get those in there. You need to not bow to the peer pressures, the social pressures.
Interesting stories need interesting things.
Yeah. They need something to keep you hooked.
Paint by numbers is always going to be boring.
Yeah.
You can only tell the same story so many times.
Will affect Final Fantasy going forward. This will affect 7. It will only get worse from here on out. I'm mad. I'm super mad. I'm just kind of genuinely fucking sad, to be honest. Disappointed. I honestly, for a long time, even in a lot of my videos, despite me saying I think this could happen, I said I don't think it will with Square Enix. I think they're brave. I don't think they'll be cowards. I was wrong.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, they were cowards, and that's not to detract from how I feel about 15. I still like the game, but it's just super disappointing to know that a lot of the bravery that I liked, and the being challenging and stepping out of their comfort zone was a thing I liked about this franchise. To think that could possibly gone after all of this news, it's super fucking sad. But there it is, guys, on the table. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. Shout out to my boy Dave. We talk about this shit all the time. We've been talking about this, all day. We talked about this yesterday. We have a lot of feelings that we won't.
We generally like to play a bit of League, have a bit of a political discussion.
We're playing the Final Fantasy trading card game. I've learnt it. I am ready to take on some people on my channel. So,
my crap deck.
Yeah, we've been building decks so we can do it. Not dwell on it. Let's hope that perhaps the DLCs, they come out, they fix some issues, and maybe if I can write that later and get our voices known, maybe we'll start a petition. I don't know. Kind of at a loss at this point on what you can do.
Just tell us your thoughts.
Tell us your thoughts.
Did you like this type of video? Do you want more?
Yeah, let us know, guys. Until the next video. I don't even have it in me to do a really happy, uplifted. Ouch.
See you later, peasants.
Hold me, man. Until the next video, guys. Ow! Fuck it.
How long have we been doing this?
I mean, twat.
You have no one to blame but yourself.